Hello and welcome to Entertain This. It's a podcast about movies, TV shows, and video games. My name is Tom. With me I have
Mitch.
And we don't have Hayden, but we do have Jackie Dallas. Jackie, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you for being on our little show. For those of you who don't know Jackie Davis, she's from Syracuse, actor, film director, med school graduate, and in Stranger Things, and a host of other shows that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But my big question is, how do you go from doctor to actor?
Oh, doctor to actor. Yeah, that's a bit of a jump, isn't it?
A little bit.
Um, I always loved acting. So that was always kind of a first love of mine. And, growing up, I grew up in Florida. And so I just never really thought that was like a real path that you could take, right? I didn't think that was something you could really pursue unless you were rich and famous and beautiful and grew up in Hollywood. So I did the responsible thing and pursued medicine like my parents wanted me to. Um, and medicine is great. Such a noble profession, and I respect everyone who still does it so much because it is so much work. And long story short, my husband, who is a doctor, he ended up matching in California while I was working in first New York and then Chicago. So, medicine training is a very long period of time, and we kind of had to have a discussion of like, what do we do? Do we stay together? Do we call it off because, long distance for so many years is a really tough thing to do?
Mhm.
Or does one of us kind of decide to go a different route in life? And I was really getting kind of burnt out by medicine at the time, and I wanted to get back into something really creative. So I started kind of playing around with doing student films and indie films and background work while I was living in Chicago and just completely fell in love with acting. So when I decided to move to California to be with him, I was like, if I have to start over anyways, why not try something new, Isn't California where you could be an actor? So I just was like, well, maybe this is the right time and the right place. So I just kind of jumped in and figured it out along the way. And, a couple years later, here I am. Haven't looked back since.
Well, and then I've got to go. Sorry, I have a question because your IMDb says that you were born in Syracuse, New York, but then from your publicist it says you were raised in Florida. So did you just move? Soon after being born, your family moved down there, or what happened?
Yeah, I've bounced around quite a bit. I'm a very nomadic soul. So I was born in Syracuse. My parents moved down to Florida when I was about, I want to say 4 years old. So I grew up in Florida. That's where my childhood memories are. That's where my first, like going to school and making my friends. That's where I grew up. I don't remember anything, from before 4 years old. So I say I grew up in Florida, but then, I went to college at University of Florida, and then after that, I lived in the Caribbean for a little while. I lived in Miami, moved up to New York City, moved to Chicago, San Francisco, and now I'm in Los Angeles.
Just going all around the world.
I know, I'm hitting all the big dots on the map.
I pretty
I'm
much.
from New York myself. I was born on,
Oh,
raised on Long
love it.
Island, and then we moved to Georgia when I was like 14.
Okay,
I've lived
yeah.
in Georgia my whole life. I've gone to Alabama as far west,
Mhm.
and I've gone to Virginia as far north, and that I've been to the Bahamas. That's about it.
Oh, well.
Right on, right
You
on.
just got to go somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes the hardest part is just going. But you do all
Mhm.
this impressive medical training. I think you said you had residency in New York City, like Mount Sinai, and then
Mhm.
pathology in Chicago, and then go
Yep.
into acting.
Yes, yeah.
Do you get
I mean,
roles just because you have a doctorate background?
do I get roles because of that? I give, is that what you asked? Sorry.
Yes. Like they're just
Yeah.
like, oh, like you're a doctor. It's like, can you play one on TV?
Yeah. I do credit my medical background as helping me very much so in like getting my first steps in the door. Um, you know, moving to I mean, pursuing acting in general is just it's such an uphill road, right? Like there's so
Hmm.
much competition and the industry is so saturated, especially in a place like Los Angeles. And I feel like I got very, very fortunate, being able to move to California with, no school, no training in acting and no real experience in it. And to be able to get the opportunities I've gotten. My first few credits included being a nurse, being a paramedic, like paramedic number two, nurse number three, EMT number two, like these nondescript small co-star roles that so many people go up for. I really do think that saying that I was a real medical doctor and having that ability to bring that authenticity to the role, I think that really did help me out a lot. So I don't think anything was for naught. I think everything led up to, you know, where I am now, if that makes any sense.
I mean, like reading through the script, you like for like, and if it was a medical drama or a medical incident, you're just like, there's no way that would happen. And you just like, it's like you look at the director,
Yeah,
it's like,
there's
hey, you got a
quite
pen?
a
Let me
few.
cross that out for you. Let me help you.
Right, right. No, well, I try not to overstep, you know what I mean? That's not my job, but yeah, I definitely read something sometimes. I'm like, okay, that's some movie magic that they're throwing in there.
So, from your medical opinion, and from all the medical shows you may have seen, which one for you is the most accurate?
Oh gosh, that's so recently The Pit. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but my husband and I, we ended up just watching the whole series over the course of like maybe 3 or 4 days. We couldn't binge it. It was too close to the truth and it was so stressful. But it's such a good show. And I think what it really nails is I don't know, I think just the general sentiment of the frustrations of being a doctor now in
Hmm.
today's world and system and society. There's so many new challenges. I think a lot of people go into healthcare for all the right reasons, right? Like we want to help people,
Hmm.
and it's a very administrative system that you don't realize. There's a lot of red tape and there's a lot of permissions and insurance and protocols, and it's hard for you to just go in and say, okay, this is what we need to do. There's a lot of pushback from insurance companies, and there's a lot of what we call CYA, like
Hmm.
things you have to do, to cover yourself. Make sure you don't get sued just in case of, whatever happens. And it's a lot to navigate. It's a lot to navigate that they don't necessarily teach you in medical school or pre-med, but you have to kind of figure it out. And I think a lot of that also kind of contributed to me wanting to not want to do it anymore. It was so much, more. My dad is a doctor. My dad was a doctor. He was a family practice physician, and my mom was a pediatrician. So I kind of grew up in this small town in Florida, like watching them help their community and really, contribute in a lot of beautiful ways. And I grew up with that sort of idealism. And then when I got into it, I was like, wow, it's such a different system, having to navigate what it is now. It's very tricky. So
I imagine it could also get a little annoying, especially with WebMD.
yeah, that's true.
People are
The
just
internet has
walking in.
changed
It's like,
things as
I
well.
have this. I'm going to be dead in 4 days.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of patients that would come in and they know just enough to think that they know it all. It's really frustrating. Um, and also like just the time constraints, you
Hmm.
want to be able to give everyone, all the time that you need to make sure that you're, getting their history properly and you're diagnosing them properly and you're walking them through the treatments that they're going to have to do. But unfortunately, a lot of, especially if you work in a hospital system, there are quotas and there are very strict appointment times, and you can't do everything you have to do. I mean, imagine breaking news, a terrible news to a person in like less than 15 minutes and then handing them a pamphlet. It's really hard. So I will say if anyone's listening and your doctor's running a little bit behind, give them a little grace because they might have had some difficult conversations earlier in the day.
That is really good of us. I never really thought. I always sit there in the waiting room. All my interactions with doctors. This is the first time I've actually talked to a doctor, and I'm not like in a gown or in my underwear on a. And they're going like,
Yeah, try
your
and make your
potassium's
appointments
a
first
little
thing in the
low.
morning. That's my advice.
From a doctor. Go early.
Go early.
Now, what is with the apples? Do they keep you away?
Oh gosh, apples are healthy, sure. I love apples.
That old saying, an apple a day might keep Jackie Dallas away.
Yeah.
Well, so as you got into acting, what was the first role that you got that you felt like, hey, this is a significant role as opposed to being like just a background actor?
We'll be right back.
Ever wondered what a rhythm-based stealth game with dinosaurs might look like? Or a farming sim in space with zombies? Welcome to the Gaming Blender podcast. I'm Matt, and with my co-host Scott, we take a random game genre and random game mechanics, blend them all up, and pitch wild, totally hypothetical games you've never heard of, and maybe shouldn't. New episodes every other week. Hit play and unleash your inner game dev. No coding required. Search the Gaming Blender on your favorite podcast app now.
I would say that, well, the first principal role that I had was on this a very low budget indie movie in Chicago. It's called Not Another Zombie Movie. And obviously you can imagine it's a parody of the zombie genre.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had just a handful of lines and I played this very pregnant woman, as part of this like survivor group. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, I had a blast, right? I had a blast at the time. I was like, "Oh my gosh, someone has hired me to say words on a camera." Like, yeah, it's kind of fun to, think back on stuff like that and to see how far I've come. Yeah, it's really great. And it also makes me feel so good. Like there are people out there who are willing to take chances on new actors, and I think that's really great, you know?
That is awesome. People can get the chance to get out and show what they got versus,
Absolutely,
everybody comes
absolutely.
to
And
LA, becomes a waiter, and like in between, like getting someone's drink order, you're like, have you read my screenplay?
yeah. Yeah, everyone is hustling in LA, everyone is hustling, but sooner or later you find the people that, want to create stories together. And once you find that film family, it's really wonderful, When I first moved to California, so I was living up in the Bay Area first, up in San Jose. And that's where I'll say I really got my footing. That's where I really was able to dedicate my time and my efforts and my resources into, learning more about acting and finding that community of actors. In Chicago, I was kind of just doing it on the weekends, balancing it between, my day job as a doctor. So yeah, and once I got to California, I found this wonderful family. Eduardo Castrillo, he's a director producer. I think he's on his like eighth or ninth feature film now. He's does a lot of indie movies, and he and I collaborated, I think, on his second feature film, and it was my second role. And I mean, we've stayed friends. We've worked together quite a few times, and I give him a lot of credit for, helping me get to where I am now because he gave me my first few roles and my first few clips on a demo reel that I was able to get an agent and it all like one thing leads to the other, you know what I mean? We just grow and then we've grown together, which I think is so great.
That is awesome that you have somebody as almost like a mentor, like take you under the wing. It's like, hey, I'm doing this stuff. I want you to be part of it. And then as more projects roll on, it's like, oh, hey, remember that Jackie girl? Let's get her on this one. I want her to do this. And then over a year, all of a sudden you're in several things now.
Totally, totally. Yeah, you get to work together. I really call it a film family, I understand why there are so many directors out there who do like working with the same people over and over and over again, right? Like your Christopher Nolans and your Quentin Tarantino's.
Mhm.
I totally get it.
So what was it like being in Chicago and going out for a role?
It was very nerve-wracking at the time because I didn't know what I was doing. It's a different community. Because I was non-union, I didn't have any credits. I didn't even have a headshot at the time. I was going around with like selfies. Um, I think my first few background work you don't have to audition for. You just kind of, answer a casting call, and if they like your picture, they say, "Hey, show up at this time at this place." So that was kind of cool. And then when I did start looking into where I could audition, it was mostly, like I said, student films. I was finding things on Facebook, and I was so limited because I could only go to things that were in the evenings or filming on the weekends. So I would just show up and I remember my first audition ever. I was so nervous. I was shaking. I don't even know what was going through my head at the time. And I step in the room in front of the casting directors and they're like, "Okay, just a slate for the camera and get into the scene when you're ready." And I was like, "Oh, slate. What's a slate?" I had no idea.
Slate
And for
what?
anyone who doesn't know, a slate is just, you look in the camera and you say, "Hi, my name is Jackie Dallas. I'm reading for the role of Penny." And that's it, just so that they know who you are. But I was so lost. I was so green.
Well, it seems like you rapidly became seasoned very quickly. I mean, with
Yeah,
Stranger
I,
Things, the
I try and learn
Winchesters.
as fast as I can. I guess that's part of medicine training too, right? You get thrown in, you gotta sink or swim.
So, so going from Chicago and then into Los Angeles, was that kind of stepping in, out of the frying pan and into the fire? You gave me your tongue twisters.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I moved to the Bay Area first,
Hmm.
in between Chicago and LA, and I was living up there for about, I want to say 4 years, 4 or 5 years. And I think that was a stroke of luck, in my opinion. LA is really, really tough if you're not bringing anything to the table, then it's hard to get sit downs, it's hard to get meetings, it's hard to get an agent. There's so many people who are just clawing at the door to get in. So you really do need to have some credits in order to cut through that noise, I think. And by landing in the Bay Area first, which has a very healthy indie film, scene and a lot of commercial work, surprisingly, I was able to kind of, just be in a smaller pool of actors. And so there was a lot more, there was a lot more roles to go around. We'd run into the same people at the casting offices, became friends. If I didn't get a role, my friend did. It was her turn, if she didn't
Hmm.
get one, it'd be my turn next. Like it was a really, really supportive community, and I think that was so beautiful. And then I tried for, a couple of years to break into the LA market, even with, the few credits as they were growing. And it was just so challenging as a non-union actor because here in California, in order to be on any of these major TV shows or major blockbuster films that are SAG-AFTRA, you have to be in the union or at the very least SAG eligible, right?
Hmm.
Union eligible. And it's a catch-22 because you have to have a couple credits to get into the union and they won't cast you unless you're a union. So it's a real catch-22. And after a year or two of that, I was like, you know what? Actually, let me go check out Atlanta, let me go check out the Southeast. So I ended up taking a very, I guess, a scenic route to get to LA. Really, I got my very first role out of Atlanta, actually, and that was Stranger Things. And that's kind of what got my career rolling, I would say. And then all of a sudden, I was able to get auditions in LA because I suddenly had this recognizable TV credit. Um, but yeah, LA is very intimidating when you first get here, for sure.
It definitely sounds like it, but I mean, it sounds like you also did everything pretty smart. Where starting, in Chicago, it's like, all right, now San Francisco, all right, Atlanta, and then by the time
Mhm.
Los Angeles comes up, they're like, oh, you were in Stranger Things, you've done this and this. It's like right this way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it wasn't exactly rolling out the red carpet yet, but yes, I was able to get a couple auditions, People were giving my resume a second look at least.
Well, that's awesome.
Well, because I know you're kind of short on time for today, so I kind of wanted to move into your I guess most recent role in the Hunting Wives.
Yeah.
I actually watched the entire season just to prepare because I started watching just to see when your role would show, and then I got interested and I was like, oh well, then who's the killer and who did this, and yeah, so it was a very good show, and I would just kind of like to I guess get your opinion on like your experience on how you got cast and everything.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Hunting Wives. I'm so excited for it. It's such a bingeable show.
Oh yeah,
It's a very, very sexy show. It's not, put the kitties to bed first.
right.
But I
I was
got
just
the
wondering.
audition through my agent out in the Southeast. We filmed in Charlotte. So I got the audition, just the normal, typical way, put it on tape, sent it in, and I try and film it and forget it, right? When you have a bunch of these auditions, if you get your hopes up too high, then, inevitably you're going to be disappointed a lot because there's a lot of rejection in this industry.
Mhm.
So I filmed it, I sent it in, I felt good about it. I do remember thinking like, oh, this is going to be a cool show and this would be such a fun role to play. And typically, when you have these recurring roles, these bigger roles, there is like a couple of phases, right? There's the callback and then, maybe a second callback or so forth. My agent called me a couple days later and was like, "Hey, so what are you doing for the next couple months?" And I was like, "I don't know yet. What am I doing, Terry?" And he told me that I booked the role and it was really, really exciting, just getting to book something off of the first tape and, just to be a part of, a project that I was like, hey, this is going to be really, really neat. And then you find out, all the cast that's attached to the show, Malin Akerman, Brittany Snow, Dermot Mulroney. I was so excited. It was really, really a cool experience. Um, and then they filmed for a couple months in Charlotte. I was back and forth for I'd say probably about 2 weeks total
Mm.
over the course of a month or two.
Mhm.
And yeah, we filmed the scenes and it was really, really neat getting to work with them, getting to work with all the big actors.
Well, now the show's based in Texas, so did they film it on location or was this somewhere else?
Oh no, it all filmed in Charlotte.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh,
hmm
behind the scenes.
I know. I mean, it's crazy what films in the Southeast.
Well, after watching the show, it kind of sets up your character to where there could be if there's a season two, you could have more of a role in it.
Yeah.
Is there any possibility of that happening?
I hope so. I'm down for it, I'm just waiting for the call. Waiting for my agent to call me again.
I was going to say because if they continue on with season two, I mean your character's set up in a prominent position, helping with the campaign and everything.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
it'd be nice to see a little more on the screen, a little more in the
I
season two.
Absolutely. I would love that. Are you kidding? That's like an actor's dream to be a part of something that takes off season one and then, get to be a part of the following seasons. Yeah, I mean, I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful. We're top 10 on Netflix ever since it came out on Monday. I think it was number two trending yesterday, and hopefully maybe it'll hit number one. That'll be really great. And it's been getting good reviews. Like people are getting hooked after the first episode. It's a fun show. It's very bingeable. And I think, like you said, once you get a couple episodes in, you do get hooked into the storyline. It's like it is a murder mystery. And there's a couple of twists, I think they
Mhm.
do a really good job telling the story and kind of setting it up in a way. It's like, oh, well, maybe it's this person, maybe it's that person. Oh my gosh, this happened,
Well, yeah, I mean, several times because, like I said, I watched the whole season, and there's several
Yeah.
times where I'm like, "Oh, well, it must have been them," and then you find out a little bit more information. Oh, well, no, it couldn't have been them; it had to have been them. Yeah, so it was really good.
Yeah, it was exciting to watch. It was exciting to watch. Yeah, I come in a little bit later in the season and I actually didn't get the script for the episodes before me. So I actually didn't know any of the setup that had happened until I had come in, which worked out fine because my character, I mean, we could talk about it a little bit. I play a campaign manager. So I am the outsider, right? I'm not part of the socialite crew,
Mhm.
and I just need to know what I need to know coming into it. So,
Well, I did like
um,
when your character first shows up. They're like, your character's telling Brittany Snow's character, they're not here. You just kept on.
yeah.
It made me laugh. Like your character's basically saying, "You're not coming in."
Right, exactly.
That's pretty funny.
You are not welcome here.
And without revealing, what all's going on in the show, so people will watch, it does make me wonder, like your last scene on the show. I could not do that with a straight face. So, like, does that take several takes? Because I would have been laughing if I was either side of that role.
It is such a choreographed scene.
Mhm.
Even something as, I mean, if you watch the show, I think once people see the show, they'll understand this reference. My scene is so tamed down
Oh yeah.
relative to some of the other scenes. But it's really choreographed. You know, LA, Hollywood in general has made it such a priority to make you know, being on set, working in these conditions such a safe space for us.
Mhm.
And you know, with the gosh, I don't even know how much I want to say because I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
Right, right.
I'll just leave it at that. You know, production makes such an effort to make sure that it's a safe space, you know, regardless of what kind of content you're filming, whether it's combat or whether it's, you know, nudity scenes or whether it's, you know, it's very choreographed. So by the time you kind of ex talk about it, explain it,
Mhm.
run through it, by the time you get to filming, you're just, you know, the giggles are gone. And everyone is such a professional. That's the other beautiful thing. You know, my scene partner is so nice and he was so polite, he was so respectful. And he's a seasoned pro. I mean, he's been in so many movies
Yeah.
where, you know, he's been in scenes and scenarios. So it really was I think I was more nervous than anything else because it was, you know, my one of my first few times having a scene like that. But
Well, I mean,
yeah.
in every scene that you're in the show, you have a very commanding and kind of like very, I mean, granted, you're the campaign manager, so you're going to be professional, but you just have a very commanding kind of professional appearance and demeanor to your character. So it's very good.
Yay, I could hold my own.
Now, you seem like that is actually, that would actually be a job you would be performing, like, you know, yeah, serious, like, you know, this is what we're doing today. You know, this is your itinerary kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, no, she's a strong woman. She is smart, you know, she is I've been using the word ambitious,
Mhm.
you know. She's, you know, she's a powerful person and she has goals in life and she knows she's willing to do whatever it takes to get there.
Yeah, that's why in the second season your character could hold her own because she's got that, you know, like determination that she could kind of compete with the others.
Yeah, I don't think she's intimidated by, you know, I don't think she's intimidated by the other women.
Right.
So one question we always do like to ask actors on when we get to do these interviews is, what is your biggest starstruck moment in the business so far?
Oh, oh gosh. So a couple years back, I worked on this film called Paradise Highway, directed by Anna Gutto. And this it filmed in Mississippi. And when I auditioned for it, I didn't know who was attached to it or anything like that. And after I got the role, I learned that I would have scenes with Morgan Freeman.
No.
And I didn't expect myself to have that reaction, but I was like, oh my gosh, like I have scenes with God. And you know, we got to set and it's one of the few occasions where I really was like, can I look him in the eyes? Like I don't know what to do, you know? Like he's so nice. He's such a professional. He's such an easygoing demeanor about him. I mean, clearly he's had such an illustrious career because he's just a wonderful person to work with. But yeah, it was a cool moment. It was a cool moment.
He seems like he'd be really cool. It's like you just want to like, you're God. And he's like, yeah, I know.
Oh gosh, my inner monologue, I was just like I was like, don't talk, Jackie, don't talk, don't say anything dumb. I think it was really just a very stiff, like, hello, it's so nice to meet you. I'm looking forward to working with you. I just kept it so like boring professional. Yeah, no, I think back now, I'm like, oh gosh, I could have loosened up a little bit.
Well, going forward, is there any kind of, I guess, genre, like if you could just pick, if they're like whether it be comedy or horror, what genre would you choose if you could just pick what you'd want to work in going forward?
You know, I go back and forth about that. I think a genre that I've always wanted to work in, just because it's a genre that I love watching, is like an action movie. Um, I always thought it would be so much fun to play. Like, and this is funny because I'm here at San Diego Comic-Con right now, but I always think it would be so much fun to play like a superhero or a villain or, you know, just a character, a badass kick butt character like that. I grew up watching like Tomb Raider, and it's like, oh, I wish it would be so cool. I watched the one with Angelina Jolie, and I asked my dad, I was like, Dad, can we get like flipping bungee cords hanging from the ceiling? He's like, absolutely not.
No.
It's like, no, what are you thinking? What's wrong with you? I think that would be so much fun. Early in my career, I actually took a stunts course because I was like, I'm gonna set myself up to be a stunt actor, and I found my footing in drama, and I'm very grateful for that because there's a lot of drama work, there's a lot of TV work. But I do, I do want to explore the more fun side of things, action movies, comedy would be great. I think action comedies is kind of the best of all worlds.
I think that is probably the best mix.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's so great. And I love comedy. I would love to do comedy. I did some improv, and it's so much fun. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what chances I get in the future.
You need to do like the good mix of like 80s Arnold Schwarzenegger movies where you have all the
Oh
action.
God, they're so fun.
And then the best
Yeah,
one-liners.
it's just pure entertainment. And I
Spear a
think,
guy into a wall and you like stick around.
yeah, it's just entertainment. You get to have fun. And I think that's the other part. Like I hear stories of like, the people that worked on those productions, and it just sounds like they had such a blast behind the scenes, and yeah.
So before we end the show here, is there anything you want to plug that you got coming up? Anybody you want to give a mention to? Anything at all?
I mean, I want to give a mention to my team for sure. Terry Del Corral Agency. He has been so pivotal in my success in my career. He's gotten me my first role. He got me my most recent role. Just really, really grateful for him. And all the directors and producers along the way that has given me, all the little chances to kind of help me build my career up until where I am. I think everyone who's in the indie film world, gosh, keep grinding, keep doing it, and you're gonna make some big moves. You never know who's gonna be your breakout star or your breakout director, and hopefully you guys can celebrate together on the red carpet in the future. I think that's the dream. So I'll just leave it like that.
Well, we'll be pulling for you to get a bigger role in the season 2 whenever the Hunting Wives season 2 comes out.
On Netflix.
Yep.
Yay. Yay,
And
yay,
we'll be looking forward to anything else that you have coming out. If there's other shows that you get cast in that you want to talk about more, you can let your publicist know. We'd be glad to talk with you again.
Sounds great. I love that. Thanks so much, guys.
Well, thank you for being on our show. And as we sign off, this was Entertain This, podcast about movies, TV shows, and video games, and now interviews. I'm Tom.
I'm Mitch.
And we'll catch you on the next episode.